Dogs and Halloween. Halloween's a great fun time, but sometimes not for dogs. I'm going to cover a couple things. One is how to make your dog okay with people in your house wearing a costume. I would not have a dog out if you're having a costume party at your house. It's just too much for the dog. Secondly, I'll cover how to get your dogs used to the Halloween decorations that tend to scare them on walks. I'm not covering the actual trick-or-treating because 99% of the dogs really aren't equipped to be part of that. And personally, I always put my dogs in crates or in another room while we were answering the door for the trick-or-treaters. I'm going to show you how to introduce a dog to a Halloween costume as you're putting it on. I find this is the best way to keep dogs from getting totally freaked out if you go into the bedroom looking like yourself and come out as a werewolf or a banana or whatever it might be. If the dog sees you put the costume on, they're less likely to be afraid of it. I would allow the dog to sniff the hat so they can check it out. And then I put it on. Hi, buddy. And then I could take it off and show it to them again. And let's say this is a cape or something I'm going to wear. Just going to let these guys check it out. See, we just show them. Good boy. As we put it on. Good boy. Yeah. Yeah, good boy. Good boy. And then you could stand up with it on because it's scarier if you're standing up. What do you think, Bubba? Come here. Now, Hawkeye, trust me. Okay, if the dog doesn't trust you, this won't work. Come here, Bubba. Oh, he's a good boy. He's a good boy. Yeah. Anyway, the dog is more likely to know who you are and understand what's going on if they see you put the Halloween costume on. I always did this with my kids. The dogs and the kids would be in the same room while the kids were getting into their costumes. Now, my kids never wore anything really scary, and they never wore like full face masks. If you're wearing a full face mask and your dog is freaked out, just put the dog away while you're wearing it, and save yourself and the dog a lot of trauma. All right, so we're in front of one of the best decorated places in the neighborhood for dogs that are scared of Halloween stuff. The blow-up things I find particularly are concerning to them because they're just strange. So I'll show you how I get Hawkeye used to it. Now, Hawkeye's not so scared of this stuff anymore, but this will give you an idea of what to do. The first step is to be confident going over to the decorations or anything that scares your dog. I'm not anticipating a problem, and I am visualizing Hawkeye being okay with this. And here I'm just sniffing the items a little bit and bending down and acting like I'm investigating them. This one is fallen over, so it's a good opportunity for him to actually sniff one of these. I don't like to go into people's yards too much, but I will a little bit if needed. And then he seems to be doing okay, so we just walk back and forth a little bit so he can get used to these strange blow-up things. There was one laying down over there which allowed him to sniff it, and he didn't want to sniff it until I touched it and said, "Come on, buddy, check it out." And then he checked it out and he was like, "Oh, okay, it's just some, fabric blow-up things." So let's just say Hawkeye's too afraid to go across the street next to those things. We could stay here, sniff them a little bit, maybe even walk back and forth. If your dog is too scared of an item to go close to it, you can always expose them to it at a distance where they're not as scared of it, and then move closer day by day each time you pass the item. And sometimes adding in an obedience trick or something else the dog knows how to do and gets a treat for can help them feel more secure because they're doing something they're familiar with in front of an unfamiliar thing. Tipton is a little more typical of a dog scared of Halloween decorations. Here he's trying to get away and crouching down a little bit. But I know he can get used to these things. So I touch one of them and encourage him to come sniff it. And he's like, no, not doing that right now. So then I just walk back and forth with him a little bit in front of this display. And movement often will help calm a dog down. So we just start moving back and forth. And he's totally used to being on a leash and walking with me. And again, this is doing something familiar in front of unfamiliar things. So here we're just walking back and forth a little bit. And I go up to another item and see if he'll sniff it this time, now that he's calmed down. And here he gives a little sniff. I do too, just to set the example for him. And then after he sniffs it, he's like, okay, it's fine. And so the next time we walk by, he'll be more relaxed about these items. Where are those, Hawkeye? Oh, where are those, buddy? Yeah, good boy. No peeing. Good boy. Hope this helps your dog have a happy and safe Halloween. Yeah, and, well, yeah, and that's true, like, even though Hawkeye knew how to walk on a leash, he it did yeah, I mean, it still didn't mean he was necessarily easier or, I mean, he's still behind Tipton, you know? Just so I think yeah, and, he's just I don't know if he's more traumatized because he was in the situation or older or I mean, who knows, or that's just part of his temperament. Um, but, I think even though he's walking on a leash, it doesn't mean he is any more comfortable or trusting than the dog's going nuts. Yeah. And then our friends back, of course, who, you know, just just a great example because she's so typical of the dogs they get. Um, but yeah, well, and I love watching the videos because, well, of course, I've absorbed so much more by doing this editing than I mean, because I'm trying to find the little points and point them out on by putting a little label and all that stuff. But um, anyway, it's interesting. So, and that little stinker, man, boy, she really doesn't want to give an inch, but she does. So, yeah. Yeah, but I think maybe I don't know if you wanted to, like, comment on it while you're watching it or just do a summary at the end. It just would depend on what you wanna do. We could do it either way. Okay. Yes. Yeah, and I can, like, replay it on slow motion and all kinds of things. I've learned a lot. I mean, I had to buy a new computer to do this, right? I mean, I had been wanting a new computer for anyway. And then last summer when I was editing all this, my computer kept crashing, um, and so I bought a new Mac, and I just use iMovie. Um, I mean, it's pretty yeah, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's not like, it's rocket science, but it's kinda cool to be able to slow things down and so people can really see what's going on, like, uh, was it when John Bob did the peeing and the turf scratching? And so while you were talking about it, I inserted like a slow motion of him doing that. Yeah. So, but yeah, yeah, Right. Well, and I have thought about getting that recording from Jason too that you did a couple years ago. Like, I think it's almost 2 hours of you talking about fearful dogs. So, yeah, and I'm sure he would not have a problem with it. So, oh yeah, he's a good guy, and he helps me market some of this stuff because there's no point in doing it if no one knows about it. So, exactly, exactly, and yeah, I've set up like a landing page. I bought fearfuldoghelp.com. So I set up a landing page for my videos and this one. So then we people can find it several ways. Um, and of course you can link it from your website as well, and it'll just go to your video. So, but that way it'll show up in search engines and all kinds of stuff. My husband wants to build a house in Colorado, so I got to make some money. Or he's going to make me get a real job. And well, he won't make me, but believe me, that might be a possibility. Right? Uh, right. Right. Yeah. Eh, Well, in the bank that we talked to about, building loans that only give loans for certain contractors because contractors aren't required to be licensed in Colorado. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yeah, so, they work with ones they know will finish the job and do a decent job, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. Kind of interesting. But anyway, but yeah, I think I might ask Jason for that recording and go through it, and it would be simple to kind of copy and paste some of it into. Um, oh yeah, well, I think about these things. I'll wake up in the morning and write them all down before I forget. Like, do this, that. But all right, well, so yeah, sounds good. If you want to look through that section and decide what you want to do, I have a recording thing on my phone and it sounds pretty good. So I can just like do a voice recording and then add it in. Um, should, or, or if you want to do, you can record a Zoom, right, Kev? My husband's sitting here. Yeah, has to do right. Ah, that's true. I heard good feedback about that. I did. So, yeah. No. Well, they said well, it was from Tammy and she said she really got a lot out of the course and she really enjoyed Kinsey being there as well. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. 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 Always. Yeah. It's always easier. I mean, for me personally, my husband travels a lot and I got to plan it far ahead if it's especially longer term, um but yeah, that would be yeah, well, that's my otherwise I got to pay to board my dogs, which is expensive. So, yeah, that's a good idea actually. If she wants to record you, that would be great. And then she can just send me the I know she has a Mac cuz she shared some other stuff with me. That might be a really good way to do it. Okay. All right, cool. Yeah, well, I think it's worth it. I mean, yeah, I see stuff online all the time, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah." Well, it's nice to have resources, just to say, "Here, watch this and pay me for it." So, oh, well, I had an interesting conversation with B a few weeks ago. I went up and actually recorded her because I want to do a podcast with her and her experiences up there. Um, and before I started recording, she was like, I can understand why the city doesn't want to work with AWC because they've gotten so emotional and polarized and probably on both sides. I mean, and granted, I can understand it, right? Like just the stuff they've put up with and lack of support and animal control and all kinds of things. And I was like, yeah, I kind of figured like, you know, something's going on. And so, B's dad used to be the chief sheriff or chief of police or something. Yeah. So, she has kind of a inside, I guess, communication maybe or thoughts or oh man, yeah, she's amazing. She's what, 25 now? I'm like,